since the media is finally being let back into the locker room, I'm just wondering if there's a couple players that you're looking forward to speaking to, and a couple players that you're like, kind of dreading having to walk by.
Well, the idea of being able to walk up to Trent Williams and talk to him off the record any day is interesting, because I think that's the kind of guy he is, and he's really smart, and I'd like to be able to talk to him off the record. I used to do that with Richard Sherman, even after he blocked me on Twitter. Like, he would just be sitting there and we would talk about football or whatever. He was like, he liked talking to sports writers. He's a little bit older. It's a lot of young kids in the locker room, and sports writers a little bit older. So Trent Williams, getting to actually know him would be nice. Who am I dreading seeing in the locker room?
Well, I can think of one off the top of of the dome. Kinlaw.
Oh,
yeah.
No, that'll be interesting. I think that'll be very interesting. I'm not dreading.
But besides him, is there anyone else?
Well, I want to say one thing. The person who probably would have most reason to curse me out is Mike McGlinchey, and he may, but I have a feeling he won't. And it has nothing to do with me. It's just the kind of guy he is. Some of the things he says at post-game press conferences annoy me, because he talks like he's the best player in the team or the coach or something. And I don't think he's earned that yet. But essentially, I think he means well. And I think he thinks that type of behavior is beneath him. So I think he's just always going to take the high road. And I just want to give him credit, because I'm so not the high road kind of guy. And I respect that he seems to be. So that's my read on Mike McGlinchey, is that he's essentially like a real stand-up, decent guy, like a much nicer person than me. And I give him credit for that. I get that vibe from McGlinchey too. I don't think he's gonna like curse you out or anything. I think he spends like a lot of his off time doing charity for kids with Down syndrome. I mean, he's like one of the better people in the league. He could be in the running for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Seriously. So I don't know. Yeah. There's him. And whenever I see him, I'm like, oh man, look at you taking the high road over here. God. Call me an asshole. Come on.
I mean, if you want another confrontation, like, you're gonna get a lot of people just absolutely, fuming on Twitter again. So
what if Brock Purdy calls me? He's like, hey, what'd you say about my arm?
You said he's faster than Kaepernick. I did. I think that's got to be the best compliment that he's probably gotten in a while.
If Brock Purdy ever gets mad at me, remember, that's on the record. I said and Chardall said it too. There was a lot of praise for Brock today.
Look, Brock Purdy, QB1. I'm sorry, Trae Lance. You handle the media very well, but look, it's Brock Purdy season.
It's Brock Purdy season. Sorry,
I can't say that with a straight face. I'm sorry, but speaking of Trae Lance, so he handles himself very well with the media. I'm just wondering if there's any other players that you've covered in the past that kind of remind you of Trae Lance in the way he handles the media.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's very Steve Youngish. Very Steve Youngish, like very smart, very good with the media, like not going to let the media get under his skin. Like Joe Montana didn't have the greatest relationship with the media, kind of shy. To me, this is like the second coming of Steve Young. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Steve Young, but everything about him reminds me of Steve Young, which is funny because he's my favorite athlete of all time, by far. So I don't know.
Yeah, I have a neighbor across the street. He was having a garage sale, and he had like one of those Steve Young replica rings, and he just like had a bunch of like Steve Young books, and he said Steve was his favorite too. So I guess it's just like he's probably around your age, like maybe 30 something. Yeah, but it seems like every 30-year-old Niner fan is just like, yep, Steve's my guy.
Yeah. I never watched Joe, but Steve was good enough for me. Pretty much.
Yeah, but my last question for you today is, what's the bare minimum that the 49ers have to accomplish in order for you to consider it a successful season, and maybe for them to consider it a successful season?
I mean, I think they need to make the playoffs. I mean, if Shanahan misses the playoffs this year, I don't see how he can say it's a successful season. Like, oh, we were planning to take a step back, even though it seems like they are kind of bracing for that possibility. But I mean, I wouldn't blame. I don't know who I would blame if they missed the playoffs, but I think they're at the point. This is his 6th year coaching the team. Dude, make the playoffs. The NFC is weak. I know I'm not saying they will make the playoffs. I don't know, but I think they need to make the playoffs. I don't see how you could call it a success. Year 6 in a regime. I don't see it. I mean, you could take a step back, but not that far.
Okay, so you think making the playoffs is the prerequisite? Is there anything else that they have to show? Because like, what if they make the playoffs, but they're like struggling to get there, like they were last season?
Make the fucking playoffs. No excuses. Okay. Make the fucking playoffs. I think that's what you got to do. It was hard for them to make it last year, but I just have a hard time giving Kyle Shanahan like a round of applause for missing the playoffs. I don't see how I could do that, especially this far into his tenure. I know he inherited a blank slate, but this is his team now.
Now, what if they miss the playoffs because of the tough schedule that they have? But Trae Lance shows like a ton of promise. Like, he's going to be
and it's
probably
almost even more frustrating. It's like, well, why didn't you support him? Why didn't you get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo? Why didn't you spend that $27 million? Like, why were you so scared of this season and the Trae Lance? And why didn't you actually help him out? Because he was great. But you know what? Maybe the offensive line held him back. Maybe the supporting cast held him back. And it's too bad. That's the way I look at it. If Trae Lance has a good year, I'm not saying fire Kyle, but I would look at it as a missed opportunity. The team could have been better. You could have done more. We all know they could have done more. Jimmy still on the team is silly.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Like, he should have been gone like yesterday, the day before, and the day before that. I'm still waiting for the next video where you say it's June 13th and Jimmy Garoppolo still on the 49ers.
Still. Maybe tomorrow.
But,
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, I could see like a couple of ways where, they make the playoffs, but it's still, unsuccessful. Like if they get bounced in the first round or like in the wild card round, like, what's the point? I would rather Trae Lance look very promising and, at least look like he was worth those 3 first-round picks because, I trust Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch that they'll be able to build a good roster because, in the past they've had like undrafted guys step up. We've just been missing the quarterback. So if they can finally show that we have stability at the quarterback position and a guy who's actually going to elevate the offense rather than be, handicapping the offense, I think it could be looked at as a success in that regard.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Josh.
All right. Thanks, Grant.